episode 15. We are still in the middle of the summer break for MotoGP, but that doesn't mean we don't have a lot going on. For summer break, we actually have a shit ton going on. World Superbike just got out of theirs, so they started up again in Laguna Seca this past weekend, and also our boy Rob, like previously mentioned in the last episode, he actually also raced in the Superstock 600 of MotoAmerica, which was acting as the support class for World Superbikes at Laguna Seca this past weekend.
The only guy brave enough / dumb enough to run a Honda.
There was one other one.
That's
there
true.
was one other one.
Right. Hey, did that guy finish any better than you, Rob?
Yeah, he was like 4 positions ahead or something. Maybe a few.
Fuck that guy.
Yeah, but Dennis, you didn't even actually say who we are. Like, welcome to the MotoGP podcast, everyone.
It's episode 15. People should already fucking know already. What do you think? They just stumble into this and they don't know what they're listening to?
Well, we're trying to get new listeners every single time. Come on. We've been trailing off a little bit.
We are. I kind of gave up on that after episode 7.
Obviously.
You gave up on everything.
After you disappeared for like 4 or 5 episodes.
Pretty much. No, so before we get started on actual hot topics, hint, hint, nudge, nudge, the more theory topic we got going on is Kevin's own adventure this past weekend. He was, I believe, driving around and just spitting hot fire and brimstone through some kind of a rap track and actually accidentally burned his truck down. What's up with that, Kev?
I was actually driving next to Sears Point, if you want to know. Right at about gate 9, I heard a knocking sound like my truck was low on oil, which was odd because I checked the oil like 2 years ago. It was good. And I pulled over and opened the hood, and 3-foot flames came out of the hood, and my engine was completely engulfed in flames.
Wait, 3-foot flames?
I opened the hood, and the fucking engine was on fire.
See, when you send us that picture, like I was picturing like a little flame like around like the valve cover or something.
No.
This humongous
it was
fireball.
huge flames, and so I was like, well, that's not good. So the first thing I did was go grab my phone, and then I decided to turn the key off with the engine not running and nothing pumping, it eventually started to die down. So it had to be some kind of oil and a fuel line situation. I don't fucking know. Because I don't know anything about cars, because to quote John Hopkins, the more you know, the slower you go. And
worked out well for him.
Yeah, exactly. No, being like a cokehead drunk worked out well for him. But it worked out well for Freddie Spencer, too. My car caught on fire, and that was on my way to work in the morning, and that was an interesting way to start my weekend. It ended up with me purchasing a brand new car, so.
Oh, that's what I ended up doing.
That's pretty awesome. So, I mean, it's great to have a fire near the...
So, I bought that car off Barf, right? I bought it off a guy a couple years ago, right? Because buy a secondhand, you say, what could go wrong? $1,000, 3 years later, the damn thing's broken.
Wait, you spent $1,000 on a beater truck, and it lasted you 3 years, and then it caught
2 years.
Yeah, I want to say that's a good buy.
Yeah, I think that's perfect.
That's a good buy. Especially if you never put oil in it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, seriously.
No. There was enough oil to catch on fire, that's for sure.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, it
was like Iraqi oil fields, and I was Saddam, dude. There was like plumes of black smoke coming out. It was just like, what in the fuck?
How did
this is signature Kevin. Rob goes off and does something really interesting like a race in MotoAmerica, and he goes off and burns his truck down just to have the spotlight.
Yeah, exactly. Let's think about it. Who are the 5 greatest posters of all time? Dial on, dial on, dial on, dial on, and dial on. Because I spit hot fire.
What?
I was thinking you assholes not getting references. That was from Chappelle's show.
No, I'm sorry. I did not get that one at all.
Okay, I'm going to send that to you later because you're going to laugh. It's fun.
Awesome. I do love me some Chappelle's show. I haven't seen it in forever.
Yeah. First of all, if you don't know what I'm talking about, there was only 2 seasons and like 20 episodes.
Yeah. I mean, I obviously didn't watch very much of it. So
my one reference just covered like 10% of the entire show.
Perfect. All right. Shall we move on to motorcycles now that we've got your truck on fire?
Yeah, my truck on fire, it burned to the ground. I safely purchased a Dodge Ram, and I'm all good.
Oh, actually, wait, no. So I do want to know how you got home.
I called my mom.
Perfect.
Okay,
Perfect. All right.
so
No,
as far
I got it towed safely.
Oh, cool. Very
So,
responsible of you.
yeah, exactly. Responsibility sucks.
Yeah, I know, right?
Right.
All
So
right.
Rob actually did something that wasn't poser status.
Yeah. So I had the awesome pleasure of racing in MotoAmerica Superstock for the weekend. My first pro race, like legit, pro national series race, because normally I just do WERA, which is obviously club racing. And after like 3 weeks of pulling my hair out, getting ready for the whole thing, it actually went really awesome and really smooth. Um, like my garage, like the ceiling started leaking like the day that before I was supposed to paint the fairings in my garage, so that kind of set me back. My HRC kit box decided to turn the pit limiter on and leave it on.
You hear
So
that, guys? HRC pit box. This asshole right here's got more HRC stuff than World Superbike team.
that's probably true.
that's because they're not in World Superbikes, yo.
That's
Yep.
duh.
But yeah, so like I take it to the dyno guy to get mapped for the spec fuel, and he just like he didn't call me or anything. And then the next day I show up to pick the bike up, and he's like, "Oh yeah, let me show you this." And like he revs it in neutral, and it doesn't rev past 6,000 RPM.
Well, you're never a neutral anyway. Who gives a fuck?
Yeah, well, and in first and second gear.
Right.
So thankfully he was able to put it into third gear and get it to rev out, so he could do the dyno tune. But I was just, like my starts are actually my biggest asset. If anyone has seen any of my racing videos on Barf, that is the only thing that I am legit better at than the majority of the field.
Wait,
Uh,
how much horsepower is your bike putting out?
it's a Honda, so take a guess.
I don't know. 125? Fuck, what the fuck? I don't know.
No, 108.
108? You're almost as powerful as a Moto 2 engine.
Yeah, I know, right? Which is the same motor.
Right.
Yeah. No, when I got it mapped 2.5 years ago, when it, had considerably less miles on it and hadn't been raced on for 3 years, it did 110 on pump gas. This time it did 108 on the spec fuel for MotoAmerica, which everyone says should make like 2 or 3 more horsepower. So with the HRC kit box, so the motor's a little tired.
Right.
But yeah, I'll take care of that later.
Gotta get that thing poured and polished, bro.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
Right.
given that I'm a back marker, I could probably put a cheater motor in there and no one would care.
Hey, Nicky Hayden had a cheater motor and he won a race in AMA.
Really? What, like
What do you mean, really? Yeah, he got cut. Him and Earl got he like podiumed on a 600 and he totally had a straight illegal motor.
That's awesome.
Yeah, Nicky Hayden totally cheated back in the day. It was fucking great because they were winning races like out of a box truck.
That's what, like 1999? Is that what we're talking about?
Yeah, back when he had like cornrows and bleach blonde hair.
I have seen a photo of that. That was pretty
Yeah,
terrible.
he was the man. There was nothing terrible about the late 90s. Now I'm going to listen to some Limp Bizkit and wear my Jinko jeans, and there's nothing you can do about it.
Please
Then
do.
go.
Please do. Send us a picture.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, so I got the
Best part of the weekend was me like checking in on Rob, like, "How you doing?" Like I'm some girlfriend wondering what he's up to.
He totally did too.
Was he?
Yeah,
That's kind of
he was.
sad.
I kept him up to date like most of the time. Um, but yeah, so with my entry, I got to go on track 4 times. The first practice session was 20 minutes long on Friday morning. The second practice was like at 10:30 or 11 or something, and it was 25 minutes. And actually, so terrible, terrible occurrence. For the first practice session, we had to go, like me and the guy that I went with was also new, so we had to go to like a new Moto America riders meeting.
A
And
noob meeting?
yeah, a new.
Like Barb style? Like introduce yourself, total noobs?
No, I mean, we didn't have to introduce ourselves, but they just gave us the lowdown and told us about how some of the things would go. Because the start procedure for the weekend was quite a bit different because they had to go a lot faster. Like normally you get to sit on the grid for 15 minutes with your like umbrella girl, and they do all like the camera shots and stuff. and it was reduced
Yeah,
to
speaking of Umbrella Girl, I saw that picture.
8. Yeah, we'll get there.
Luca must have been pissed.
No, she took the photo. She was stoked, apparently.
Whoa.
No, I don't know. But
Luca's got a whole lot cooler.
But yeah, so we go to the new riders meeting, and the one of the race directors essentially said that the fog was really bad, so they were likely going to delay the first practice session. So we're already kind of like God damn it, like that's just going to cut down on time. And they said to listen to the radio. So we're listening to, the race radio, and we don't hear a single thing about the practice session. And all of a sudden we hear bikes out on track. And me and the other guy I was pit with we looked at each other and we're like, no way. They can't be serious. The fog was pretty bad. So I'm not wearing my suit. Like, thankfully I already had my undersuit on, but or I had my tights on. I just throw, throw all my normal clothes off, get my suit on super fast and just hop on the bike. Like, thankfully the bike was completely ready and the tires were already, pressure was already set, warmers were already on. But I managed to, I have a 20-minute session. I managed to miss the first 6 minutes because we were thinking that it was going to be delayed. It was totally a new mistake on my part, completely retarded. But so
Nice.
that was actually the most drama for the entire weekend. The first session I went a half a second slower than my best around the track, just kind of getting used to it again. The second session, which was qualifying one, I managed to do 2 seconds faster than my PR. So made it down to 36.4, a minute 36.4, which I was stoked on to begin with because my goal time was a low 36, and I already did that in first qualifying. Then that was it for Friday. Then I just got to hang out and watch other people ride, so that was pretty cool. But yeah, and then qualifying two on Saturday morning, I cut another full second and did a 35.2 and qualified 23rd on the grid. So, Super Stock 600 has 110% cutoff time, which would be no big deal except for the fact that Joe Roberts is practically cherry picking the class.
Okay.
He busted out a 127, which would have put him pretty good on the Super Sport grid. So actually 35 people showed up and only 30 got to race because they didn't qualify. And I feel
where did you qualify?
I qualified 23rd. So I had 7 people behind me on the grid, which was kind of nice.
Nice.
I feel like they actually kind of fudged it a little bit and let a few extra people in that had semi-respectable times. But I don't know. I got the sheet somewhere in front of me. I could check it out. But yeah, so I mean, qualifying two, everyone was thinking, oh, it'll be too cold for Joe Roberts to go faster, and he actually cut 2 seconds off. So that shows what everyone else in the paddock knew about what he was going to do.
Sweet.
Yeah. And then in the race was awesome. Weather condition was perfect. It was nice and warm. I threw, a new set of tires with the soft rear tire on. And I'd never run the soft before except for in that weekend. And I was kind of tearing it a little bit on the left side. But we were hoping the warmer temps from the sun on Saturday was going to kind of fix that. It didn't really that much. I still tore it a little bit, but it wasn't that bad.
What time was the race?
Was
it afternoon?
Yeah, it was in the afternoon. We had a pretty good gap between the race and or between the Q2 and the race. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because I think because Superbike qualifying went before we raced. So our race and the KTM race were pretty much the end of the day.
Right.
Yeah. So the track temp was perfect, and there was no hint of moisture or rain or anything, so it was freaking awesome. But yeah, I in the race there we were all set to go, and I had my girlfriend Luca and my dad as the umbrella girl, and they were gonna pull the generator out on the grid and pop me up on the stands, and we were gonna sit there for 3 minutes after the sighting lap and then do the warm up lap, but none of that happened. the start was delayed, so we essentially did it club racing status. We did a warm up lap, we came back to the grid spots, and then we went. And
Right.
I totally missed my grid spot because I didn't know where it was. Like they have like, you know, signs like lollipop signs like
Yeah,
at the
on the top.
side, but
Yeah,
they put, like, I was in row 8 and they put number 8 at the front of row 8, which makes sense now that I think about it. But like row 7 was, you know, row 7 goes back a little bit. So I actually pulled into the middle spot in row 7, and because it was open, and turns out the guy that was supposed to be in row 7 had done the same thing and pulled into row 6. So then we both had to like walk backwards while
Oh
everyone
man,
was going
total
forward.
noobs. This is noob central up in here.
Yeah, exactly. Total news. I mean, we were all confused by the delayed start, you know, like even like half of the crews for everyone like had walked all the way out with the generators and the stands and the warmers and stuff to pop us up, but
right.
none of that happened. So it was just a grid and go. Um, but
Like
so
an
that,
AFM race.
yeah, exactly. It was exactly like a club race, just grid and go, which was totally fine because once I found my spot, like I got into race mode and I actually pushed pretty hard on the warm up lap, so tires were still good. And I
Wait,
got
how many laps for the race?
the race was 16 laps. So
Damn.
Is that the most laps you've done in a race?
no, I have done what's called a solo race with where it's essentially like a short endurance race, and it was 20 around Vegas. Vegas is a little bit of a
Okay,
shorter track, so it's probably like the same
right.
distance. But yeah, no, I know what that many laps feels like, and it's
Okay.
definitely like you get to the end and you're like, please, please, where's the white flag? Um, but yeah, I got an amazing start. I pretty much passed the entire row in front of me and got like another two guys. Um, and then kind of just tried to stick with the faster guys that I had caught up with for like a lap or two, but unfortunately, someone else also got a good start, and
Fuck that guy.
yeah, so this other guy he was a bit slower. Like we ended up turning like I did a few laps in the 35s to start out with, and then he dropped into the 36s, and I just literally could not get around him. It did not help that my quick shifter decided to take a dump.
I
So
heard that all
In the
weekend
middle.
that passing was hard for a lot of people all weekend
yeah,
in all the classes.
I mean, I'm on a Honda and I'm racing against the R6 spec class essentially, and it just didn't made it so that I could not outbrake someone into turn two. Like I couldn't pull up on them over the hill or up the hill to kind of like outbrake them a little bit into the corkscrew. And the track is just it's so dependent on getting a really good flow through 3, 4, 5, and 6 that there's not much to be done. I mean, even like I was getting a really great drive through Rainy and then also carrying more speed through the next right, and I was still having difficulty like outbraking this guy into the final corner into turn 11. But so I ended up passing him like 3 times into 11, and he would, because my quick shifter was busted, I was having to, you know, do the roll off real quick with the throttle,
Right.
and
Right.
he would just pass me it like down the straight
Yeah, he just
like
out drag you.
yeah, exactly. So finally, like I managed to get like a really, really good run on him out of the corkscrew. Like I kind of held back a little bit coming up the hill and into the corkscrew, and he wasn't that good through the corkscrew. So I held back a little bit so that right when we turned right out of the corkscrew, I could really power through Rainy and just catch him and catch him and catch him. And I carried that all the way to the final corner, passed him like really solid around the outside in the final corner, and just managed to like hold him completely off. Like I think because I went on the outside, he had to check up a little bit more, so he got a terrible drive. And then right when that happened, my quick shifter came back.
Nice. So it looked like you were fucking playing with him. You just fucking motored off.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so my quick shifter came back. I went from the 36s that we were running and made it down to 34.2, which was by far my fastest lap of the weekend by another full second over qualifying.
Right.
And I pulled away from him, and then with 2 to go, the leaders started catching me, and I started seeing blue flags, but I didn't really hear anyone behind me, so I just held my line. Because you know the worst thing that you could do is like is pull offline and have someone like just run into the back of you because they weren't expecting what you were going to do.
Right.
So I held my line, and given that they were running, 28s, they easily passed me. So I don't think that I like blocked anyone. I haven't watched the race yet because it's not up yet on the website. So I haven't watched it yet, but I'm not sure. But yeah, like Joe Roberts and Bryce Prince went by me going up the hill to the corkscrew. Like I think Joe went on the right on the outside and Bryce went on the left. So that was a little unnerving. And then I took the white flag, and then Michael Gilbert, my buddy from Wera, passed me on the next lap, and he managed to hold off third, which was pretty awesome for him. Like that was his second podium, I think, because he podiumed in race one at Miller. And then I actually did like one of my worst final sectors around the track because I was exhausted, like my right arm from having to do the quick shifter madness for the non quick shifter madness from before. Like my right arm started to pump out just a little tiny bit, so I wasn't feeling great on the brakes into the corkscrew.
Wait, you're telling me you're getting arm pump and rocket starts? Okay, Danny Pedrosa.
Yeah, right. But so my final sector was actually my final sector of the whole race was pretty terrible, and my buddy Ryan Harper managed to drag me to the line by literally 1 foot. So he beat me by 0.01 second to the line.
Oh, that sucks.
Yeah, exactly.
To finish what spot?
So
that's like Rocky. That's like Rocky 3. You beat me by 1 second. 1 second. For 1 second, it's a very hard thing for a guy like me to handle.
Yeah, point zero one. It was terrible. So
right.
That'll never happen again. Just new mistake. I will not do that ever again. But yeah,
dude, you're a privateer. Shit is gonna break every weekend.
I know, right?
Right.
But yeah, so I got P19.
Nice.
So I'm freaking stoked. So my goals were for the weekend. My goals were top 20. So I got that one.
Nice.
136.
Great success.
Yeah, great success. So 136. I beat that one handily with a 130.
Very nice.
And then don't get lapped. And that one didn't happen.
That did not happen.
No. So I honestly, if I had been able to run like low 35s for the whole race and then a couple of 34s, so if I hadn't gotten stuck behind this other dude, it is very close that I probably would not have gotten lapped. But so that the goals for next year have just improved dramatically.
And then next year you're gonna have me in your crew as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
now I'm gonna be the umbrella boy, and I got a sweet pair of short shorts for you.
And I just ordered an official World Superbike umbrella, so I could be rocking that,
Exactly. They probably gave that to you for free for getting on the world feed.
More or less. It's sweet. It's got like a carbon fiber look, like handle and shaft. It's awesome.
Exactly. No one probably saw that though, because everyone that watches World Superbike was in that picture.
Yeah, me.
Right.
All right. Well, speaking of World Superbikes, and that was Rob's race recap, which occurred on the Saturday of that weekend. Sunday, he and I actually just met up and chilled and pretty much watched the races. It was like 5 races on Sunday, 2 for World Superbikes, 2 for MotoAmerica Superbike and Superstock, and then one Super Sport race.
One for Super Sport.
It was just a day full of racing for Rob and I to just kick back and watch.
You guys had a bro down?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Luca's there.
The bro down.
Yeah, the girlfriend Luca, she was hanging out. Like it was actually really nice to finish all my racing on Saturday and then just get to chill out and enjoy on Sunday,
Right.
So yeah, that was pretty awesome. And the racing wasn't half bad. So we sat in the Turn 4 grandstands and watched the Jumbotron, and I mean the announcers were terrible. They pretty much they got something wrong like every time anything happened.
Should have hired me.
They actually confused Ray and Sykes at least once, I counted, so it was kind of horrible.
Yeah, like I'm pretty sure he was like, oh, Ray got by Sykes. Oh wait, no he didn't. Oh yes he did. Oh no he didn't.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like I understand that they kind of, they're wearing the same, like the only difference about them
color scheme
is Sykes has the red stripe down the middle of his helmet and Ray doesn't. Right? That's pretty much it.
Right.
So I understand the difficulty there, but come on. I mean, at least they have they should have like the live timing up on their thing the whole day. the whole time to be able to see.
Was it like Southern Twang, Scott Russell and shit, or no?
Mm-mm.
No,
No, it was.
I don't know who they were.
It was no. The second guy was the dude that has the riding school in NorCal. The like not the dirt one.
Rich Oliver?
Yeah, yeah. Rich Oliver was the second announcer. I'm pretty sure.
Look at me knowing things about American racing.
You're the go-to guy for anything that happened before the 2000s for American racing.
Yeah, for reals.
Yeah, before you followed racing.
Back when people cared about AMA.
Yeah, yeah, and before I watched racing, pretty much.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, and the main dude was pretty much the guy that's been doing all of MotoAmerica stuff. So he had a hard time. Yeah. Apparently in the feed he said that I crashed and then he apologized for it later.
That's cool.
Really?
You got name recognition? They brought you up?
Yeah. Yeah, they totally announced my name on the feed. So
Hey, there's no such thing as negative publicity, yo.
nope.
Right.
Gotta turn that.
Unless it's like, oh, he crashed. Oh, no, wait. He didn't. There he is in 23rd.
Yeah. No, 19th, 18th. Yeah, so the Superbike races, so Davis managed to finally get a double for Ducati. And he did it handily. Like even like in race 1, he pretty much just got a bomber start and never looked back and managed to
Yeah.
pull a gap, manage it for quite a bit. I think Sykes having to deal with the pressure from Ray may have slowed him up a tiny bit, but at the same time, I don't think they had anything for Davis in race 1. Like there was no chance there. And then in race 2, he pretty much did the same exact thing, but conditions were quite a bit more scary because the rain flag came out on lap 2, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, it was pretty early.
Yeah, it was super early. The rain was really light. Like I'm pretty sure it was just that confident sapping rain, like grip. I think the lap times only suffered by like maybe a full second. So and then 10 laps later they went back down to their standard pace because the rain subsided and the track just completely dried up. So I don't feel like the rain really impacted the race all that much. Except for a few people went down kind of early. Like Giuliano crashed really bad in
Yeah, that was a horrific crash.
Yeah,
Nasty.
I didn't actually see that one, but did he did high side, right? Like
Yeah, it was pretty bad.
he tucked the front and then lost the rear and then the bike just kind of flipped through the gravel, right?
All I know is that he flipped end over end himself like at least twice.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was one of those scary ones, and you're like, oh god, like fuck.
Yeah.
I mean, the only good thing I could say is from personal experience. I know how soft the runoff is at Laguna. Like it's really, really deep and soft runoff. So that's the only consolation because his head did, far as what I saw, his head did hit the ground like when he was tumbling. So.
Yeah, that gravel is super deep. I actually crashed there in May. Well, I ran off and the bike decided it didn't want to roll anymore through that gravel, so I crashed.
Yeah, it's very, very deep. So
yeah,
maybe some kind
But yeah, so actually, have you guys heard anything about him? Any injuries?
I'm on Moto Matters,
No,
and I don't see any reference. I think he just got bruised up. I don't think he actually had any kind of actual injuries.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of hoping that it just looked like worse than it actually. Well, I'm sure he was hurting for it, but I'm kind of hoping that I haven't heard anything, so I'm hoping that it just looked as bad, like that bad, but not really like that bad for him.
Yeah, he just kind of had some bruises. I see something here. He didn't get hurt. He didn't have any injuries. He just was bruised.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good to hear. So, I mean, he was doing better in race 2. He managed to get by Jordi Torres a lot sooner, and he kind of, after race 1, it sounded like he was hopeful for being able to fight the Kawasaki's for the podium, and just unfortunately, pushed too hard out of that reasonably tricky corner, actually, and managed to lose it. But yeah, and then in race 2, Ray didn't really have nearly as much for Sykes as he did in race 1. And the podium was exactly the same, right?
Same exact podium, and kind of just capped off Davis's perfect weekend of pole and double victories.
Yeah, so Kev, how do you feel about Ducati finally getting a double?
I was pretty stoked actually when I read it, and he's definitely the best looking guy Ducati's gotten a double with in the past couple of years. But I was pretty excited when I read it. I kind of feel like they're slowly turning the page. We were talking about this before. You might have recorded it or not, but I still feel like he's not the guy that's going to fight for race weekends regularly. He's just kind of he's a kind of a journeyman rider who, when he's on, and he'll bag some wins for sure. But he's not the guy that's going to take them to the next level. I kind of think now the bike's slowly getting dialed finally, and the team's kind of there. It's time to really try to find or headhunt some kind of top tier talent, because I don't think either of those guys they got riding for him are gonna put them the next one. It was kind of bittersweet. I was like, oh yes, finally. It's only been 3 years.
But wait, Kev, Chaz has a lot of experience in Laguna Seca, so do you really want to take this as kind of a sign of an upturn for Ducati at this point, or just that Chaz has just had a kind of like a semi or quasi home field advantage?
Well, I don't know if I have home field advantage, man. All these guys have a lot of practice at Laguna, and I don't really buy into the they're all fast guys, and Laguna's not, it's not like Nicky Hayden in 2004 or 2005, you know what I mean? Like, everyone knows the track. It's not like they've raced there a couple times, it's all fine. Yeah, Chaz is probably good at it, but he's been out of America for a while now.
Yeah.
It's not like he's still racing on that Celtic Racing R6 from back in the day. He's moved on. They're all fast. Tommy's fast, and Ray's a beast. So that's an earned win. Is he going to win the next race? Probably not. He might win another one this season. Wouldn't surprise me. He's got a lot of podiums, and he's got he's been right there.
No, I mean, I think it is an earned win. What I was asking is if you really want to take that as this weekend as a sign of an upturn for Ducati themselves, not so much for Chaz.
Well, anytime you take a perfect weekend like that, it's a decent sign for the team and for the bike. You know what I mean? Yeah, Laguna Seca is a peculiar track, and it probably masks the horsepower deficit and stuff that Ducati has. But still, I'm taking it as a fan of Ducati. I'm taking it as a positive sign that they're ready to start winning races on a more regular basis.
Yeah, I mean, at the very least, it'll be more confidence for the team, which we've seen time in and time out. Which is a huge deal. Yeah, that it's a big deal. So, I mean, anyone that ends up like P1 in the first practice and then carries that through the whole weekend, they just do better for quite a while after that. So yeah, I mean, I kind of agree with you that he probably won't double again the next round. Like, maybe he'll get one win like soon here, but it's definitely going to help out the team, and hopefully Laguna is not too much of an outlier that they won't be able to carry what they learned setup wise over to the other tracks.
Right, that's what I mean. Just I think it's a sign of good things to come. I'm pretty proud of the team for sticking through it, and Ducati's been in a rough spell the past couple of years, and this year they're having some glimmer of hope in MotoGP. Got a grip of podiums, and guys are looking good. It's looking up, and that Panigale had a rough start to begin with, especially with the All-Star team and all that kind of controversy, and they're kind of finally starting to turn it around.
Yeah, I mean, I really hope it goes well. Like, I want to see someone kind of consistently be able to battle with the Kawasaki's,
Well, I personally feel, and maybe it's just me, but World Superbike it's mostly a European championship in terms of its fan base, and Ducati doing well is needed for that series. They've been there since the start. They've kind of been the one constant in all the eras and ups and downs, and Ducati.
They've been to Honda World Superbike, actually.
What's that?
They've been to Honda to MotoGP in World Superbike.
Yeah, exactly. And so it's good for the series, it's good for the fan base, and it brings more eyeballs to the series to have Ducati doing well. As much as I like Ray, and Ray is popular and stuff, having the whole thing just be the Johnny Ray on Kawasaki show, because let's be honest, no one fucking likes Kawasaki. Right? Like, no one's super stoked about anything that's abbreviated cock on your registration. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's people who are into the Honda when they had the homologation specials. People who are into Ducati. People like Aprilia and the BMW. Like Kawasaki doesn't fucking inspire anyone with their sport bikes these days. Not in terms of the manufacturer following.
Yeah, I mean the boutique manufacturers, the smaller ones, generally have more of a personality that gets people to
Right.
follow them. And
Right, like I'll say it this way: I'm not a huge Chaz fan or a huge David fan, but I'm a Ducati fan, and I root for them. And when they're on the bike, I root for them. So you know what I mean. But for me, a huge portion of World Superbike's success, its sell point, is that you root for the bike because the bike is a street bike, and they make all these different rules for different versions of bikes, which I've always supported because you want to race what manufacturers are selling. And I like the Panigale. I think it's a fucking rad bike. And I support Ducati for bucking the trend and being real innovative, but I want to see it do well, and it doing well is good for the series.
and for making
It's
a
funny because
highlight
I'm
for
kind of like on the flip side as Kev, but I completely understand what you're saying because I've always been a Sykes fan before Kawasaki, and I still am obviously a Ray fan, but I am underwhelmed with Kawasaki and the ZX-10R itself, especially the street bike. So I completely understand what Kevin is saying, even though I'm on the opposite end. But I'm not a fan of Kawasaki. I'm a
You're
fan of the Riders.
you're underwhelmed by the ZX-10. If I was to get a leader bike today, it would probably be the Cowie.
It's not compelling to me enough. It's
No?
not like no. I'm not. Maybe I'm just not of
But
this era right
you
now
just
where
bought a
everything's
Ducati,
like
so it all makes sense.
it's a
Maybe I'm a
2004
Euro
Ducati.
Maybe I'm a Euro snob, but I'm more interested in like BMW, MV Agusta, Bimota, and Ducati doing well. Like I kind of wish World Superbike was the boutique manufacturer, like homologation special race series.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, yeah, it's crazy how the Italian manufacturers are somehow able to like develop this following, like both in motorcycles and cars, right? Like
Right.
when
Have
the
you seen
Italians
I
the
know why.
bikes?
I know why. Yeah, I know why now that I own one. It's like it's a piece of shit bike to be riding. This 2004 749 I have, but it is. I'm sorry. It's just fucking subliminally gorgeous. I don't.
it's
I,
just tits.
it's just baller.
Yeah.
It's just ball. I don't know if people are looking at me when I'm riding it, but I feel like y'all better be damn looking at me because this is just baller right here. That's the Ducati effect, and now I get it because I own one.
Yeah, I said I don't know. We talked about it before. I had a '99 Super Sport 900, the half fairing, right, the turbo launch design bike.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Still my favorite bike I ever had. I've owned like 25 motorcycles in my day. You know what I mean? Like, if I could go buy another bike right now, because my car didn't catch on fucking fire, I had to go buy a new car, I'd probably go buy one of those. It just doesn't. There's something about them. I like the visceral nature of the engine and the bike.
Yeah.
I have not yet experienced it, so I don't fully understand it, but I will definitely take your word for it.
Yeah, no, I think the only way to experience it is to own it because I never understood it, I never got it, and they're pretty sure when I see them passing by or when I'm standing around next to one, but it's something different when you own it and you get to like really look at it and you get to actually live with it. It's actually surprising to me how much I'm so taken by it.
So where do you think World Superbike is going to go since it's pretty much just been a British rider show these days, right? Like, yeah, we have the Italian motorcycles doing better, but do you think we need a different demographic of rider as well?
Well, Torres doing well in World Superbike. I would like to see some Moto2 riders who maybe don't. There's a whole group of Moto2 riders. There's not a lot of seats in MotoGP for them. I'd love to see some of the guys move laterally, because that's kind of what World Superbike is for me, at least, a lateral move to World Superbike and give that a shot. I mean, I think Moto2 might be a good proving ground, stepping stone for World Superbike, and I think you could see some good guys doing that, doing well there. I'd love to see, maybe a Zarco or even like a Simone Corsi or some of those perennial podium guys, but not top guys that are going to go to MotoGP, move over.
Okay, so since Cav just brought up Jordi Torres and lack of seats in MotoGP, I think this is a perfect segue because I was just thinking about Jordi Torres and Aprilia in MotoGP. As we know, one of the news lately is that Melandri and basically severed ties with Aprilia and MotoGP, got out of his
Finally.
contract. So, right, there's that open seat. And you know what I was thinking? Like, why not Jordi Torres?
Why
If it
not?
was
Yeah,
possible. But I'm saying, like,
you know what? That's a really good point. I
yeah.
didn't even really thought about that, but other than you're losing a rider in your World Superbike squad, but unless
But
you're
they're
trying to get
focused
him
on MotoGP right now. They weren't planning on even having a factory effort with the Red Devils Roma. Remember, that's a last minute thing. They wanted to completely leave World Superbikes
It's
and
not a
focus on the
factory.
MotoGP stuff.
It's not a factory effort. Like,
They get a lot
More or
of
less.
factory support, though. It's kind of
Yeah,
a
more or
pseudo
less.
factory bike.
yeah, but it's less support than Ducati and Kawasaki are providing.
Well, sure, but more than Honda.
More than enough. Yeah.
Everything is more than Honda.
But
and maybe
but that's what I was thinking is
potentially
like,
more
I mean, I was just thinking that Torres coming from Moto2, he already has that kind of like quasi GP experience, and he's proving himself to be able to handle a relatively big bike, even though it is an Aprilia. Why not? And he's young.
I mean, it's pretty much there's a different chassis, but the engine character is probably very similar, right? Like they have finally fitted pneumatic valves, and I think they do have a seamless transmission now too, but I don't think they have
Seamless on the upshift.
Yeah, exactly. It's not a bad move, but I think it would actually be a pretty good move, both for Torres and for Aprilia. But I have a feeling they're not going to do it because he's Spanish Elvis in World Superbike.
Yeah, he's actually a great personality in the grid right now in Superbikes. Like I really like that guy, and it would be a shame to lose him. But if I think about it pragmatically, it kind of really makes sense.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
who knows? Maybe the director of Aprilia for GP is like knocking on his door right now, trying to get him to come over because they definitely did not sign Laverty to finish out the rest of the season. They pretty much said you're going to do this one, and then we're going to see.
Right.
But,
Yeah, the question is whether they can actually get him out of it if they decide they want to do that. He does have a contract with an existing team that was expecting a guy to eventually be a podium contender.
Yeah, because it's
You know
not
what they should
factory
do?
effort,
They should call Melandri again and say, listen, go take
Which?
Torres' seat on World Superbike.
Just do a straight
Just
swap.
swap. Exactly. I mean, Melandri wants to be in World Superbikes. He likes the Aprilia, so just put him back on that damn bike and take Torres.
I think everyone said that like by like round 3 of both series, right? Like, hey, swap Torres for Melandri. Didn't that already came up?
I'm not sure.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously it didn't happen, but maybe it's much more likely now because Melandri is officially out. But
Right,
we don't.
and Torres is doing relatively well.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we still don't know how much Melandri actually got paid to not race anymore because
$1 million.
his contract was worth. Oh, was it $1 million?
Well, his contract was over $1 million, and I'm assuming he didn't just go. I mean, because let's be real, this isn't Melandri's first "I want out of a MotoGP ride" mid contract rodeo. You know, he knows his way around, man. Or as like Dennis called him, like the real champion quitter.
Wait,
The defending champion.
The reigning
quitting.
defending.
He did it at Ducati. Did he also do it? Who did he ride for after he rode for the Ducati team? Or sorry, after the Kawasaki?
Yeah,
Now
He
it
rode
was the,
rode Yamaha,
the
then BMW.
was there.
no. He was still in San Carlos Gresini Honda after the Kawasaki.
That's okay. Did he try and get out of that
Yeah,
contract?
they had the Marco team. Remember?
Yeah, exactly.
But he tried to stay there though, right? Like he didn't try and opt out of that contract or get kicked out.
Yeah, I don't think he was unhappy with Gresini at that time. No.
He had just kind of middle results. You know, he was like in the second half of the top 10 regularly.
Yeah, which I mean he did about as good as Brattle was doing on that bike. So
Yeah, exactly.
yeah. Oh
That's
man.
not a bad
as
idea,
far
though,
as
but yeah, I mean, that's it. Go
Go
ahead.
ahead.
Oh, just saying. Oh boy. Ah boy. You go left.
I was just about to segue into Aprilia and Suzuki, but if you still have some more thoughts, go for it.
Nah, go ahead.
All right. Well, we're already talking about Aprilia, and Kevin felt strongly about doing kind of a mid-season review of Suzuki and Aprilia's progress and also hopes. So let's get in on that.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of segues perfect because, that if Torres were to take it, I think that second Aprilia seat with Gresini is not a bad shot for someone trying to break into the series. we kind of talked this before on Barf and stuff, but is a factory effort on a lower tier bike a better ride to have than a third or second tier situation? I think right now Bautista's in a way better position than Laverty or Hayden or Miller or Carl, as we confirmed it was.
It's
you know what I mean?
Better than a production Honda. No qualms about that one. It's definitely better than a production Honda. I mean, even Bautista's improvement in the results and likely more improvement for later in the season just justifies that entirely. So, but the question, could it ever be better than a satellite ride at Honda, Ducati, or Yamaha?
Well, the first argument is it better than a forward bike?
That one's a little trickier. I think this year probably not, and also not better than Ducati's third tier ride because they're providing all that electronic support to Barbara. But next year, I think it's going to get a bit closer. I think it's much more likely that the Aprilia factory effort will be better than a third tier Honda or Ducati.
Yeah, and I was just thinking, that second bike that Melandri just vacated, for a rider who might want to sneak his way on the GP grid but not take that's not a bad gig because you're going to get direct involvement with the factory, you're going to get input in development. For a new rider coming in, you get on that bike, you commit 2 years to working your ass off, see some decent results. That could actually be a solid stepping stone if you're able to pull some surprising results. Plus, you're getting the experience of working directly with a factory. And for me, I see that as something that a Tito Rabat or a Zarco, or like you said, a Torres, or someone else who's got some good Moto2 wins under their belt, that's younger and hungry and maybe not getting the respect or the options they think they deserve. Because, Moto2 is in kind of a weird holding year where it's not viewed the same prestige that it was a couple years ago.
Yeah, I mean, I agree that the factory experience would definitely be an amazing learning potential for a younger rider, right? I mean, that's what we see with Maverick right now is his right. Results are improving so much because he's with that factory team and he's able to learn correctly he's learning from the guys that wrote the software that he's using.
Right. Exactly. Like you look at the differences between Miller and Vinales, guys of probably similar skill level, at least in the ballpark of each other. Yeah. And it's just a total difference in mood and their development and how much better they're getting. And a lot of that, like you said, exactly. You're learning from the guys who are writing the software. You're talking to the engineers who are designing the bike.
Yeah. And I mean, and their bikes are not that far off, right? We know that the Suzuki is underpowered, so the production Honda may actually have more horsepower than the Suzuki. They both don't have a seamless transmission. Suzuki has never been known for their electronics prowess. Like, it took them forever to get their software into the Magneti Marelli system. So you can't imagine that there's much difference there in equipment. So it's probably all down to the fact that they're learning that Maverick is learning directly from a factory. I mean, he's got the right track for getting into GP, even if it's not the best factory out there. So yes, for someone that moves into Aprilia, like, either that works out great for them, and because they're young and hungry, and that's exactly what Aprilia is looking for right now. Or maybe, after 2 years there, that rider could translate that into a satellite ride for Honda or Yamaha. And, they could get into the factory that they really want to. But I don't really know who would take that spot, though, because Aprilia said they want someone young and hungry, and that kind of already disqualifies Tito and Zarco. And
Danny Kent, I mean, he went from Moto2, he went back down, did really well. It's not exactly a noob. Danny Kent could fit into that if the theme of moving guys up quicker recently works.
I feel like, though, Aprilia is literally going to look at his Moto2 results and just be like, well, he didn't do great on the big bike. He had to move back down, and they won't take him because of that. And I think that Kent is actually going to be hesitant himself just because he didn't do great in Moto2 last time out. I mean, it's like remember Keenan Safaglu, right? Like moved up to Superbike and did absolutely nothing, and then moved back down and won the championship a few more times, or at least is fighting for it, right? Like there are some guys that just they do better in the lower class, and it takes them a really long time to learn the new class. I mean, even taller baby Marquez is having a really hard time this year. So I don't think, and with Miller's lack of performance, I don't think that Kent is going to take that risk. But so
Hmm.
who else do we got? I mean, like the Japanese riders in Moto2 aren't going to do it. Luti's not going to do it. I mean, Egeter has had
You
some.
got Jonas Folger is coming on strong this year and got a
Yeah,
couple wins, and it's not not someone Sam Lowe's maybe looking to make a jump, take advantage of having a decent season so far and kind of winning on the only non-Calyx bike.
yeah. Sam Lowe's he's probably the most hungry of all the riders there. Like, yeah, he's definitely missing the setup and trying to override the bike and either crashing or like doing something amazing. And I bet you Aprilia is looking at him for sure. Because like there's been rumors going around of Aprilia looking at Nicky Hayden, and like that'd be great because we're Americans. We want to see him on a better bike.
Yeah,
Like we
but
want to
that's not
keep
who
him.
they want.
Yeah, but their experienced guy is Bautista. They don't
Right.
want another old guy. And Nicky Hayden, what did I think I said like a few weeks ago, he's like fourth on the all-time starts list in GP. So they don't need another experienced rider. And Bautista with the way he's riding this year and the way he's helping with development, he's not leaving the team. So they won't take him. They'll take someone younger.
Yeah, I mean, just looking at the Moto2 list, if we're talking Moto2, Jonas Folger is not a bad choice. He's young, he's adult, he's coming on, he's winning. Who knows? I think Sam Lowe's is probably their best choice. I don't think Sam is getting a factory ride or a shot at anything decent in any other way. That could be his way to sneak onto the grid and establish his position. We kind of know that MotoGP is notoriously conservative with they riders stay in the grid a long time once you're there. You know what I mean? I mean, look at Petrucci. He was riding a total piece of shit for a long time, and he finally weaseled his way into a satellite Ducati. You know what I mean?
It seems like the riders that are like unbelievably personable and just like have consistent results, even if though they're consistently out of the points, like they somehow manage to improve like over like 4 years. Like Petrucci's great on camera, and everyone freaking loves him.
Right.
And he's somehow found his way into these better rides. Like it probably has something to do with what happens, not on track, right? What happens in the box and how they get along with their team and because the team and the rider like they spend so much time together on planes and in hotels and traveling from each round. So if you get a good rep with the team, I'm sure that helps your career immensely. Um, yeah, I definitely kind of like your idea about Folger because he like
Plus, he's Belgian, so he meets that kind of criteria of keeping a variety of nationalities on that grid.
yeah, I mean, and he's definitely young. He's shown speed, albeit like a lack of consistency, and he hasn't yet figured out how to make the speed last the whole race, it seems. But
Well, he's
yeah,
got 2 wins this year.
yeah. Well, I mean, the one of them was a weird sort of gift, right? Like what didn't he won at Qatar, right? And
Yep.
Zarco like was trying to fix his like shifter or something and almost hit the pit wall.
Yeah, that was sweet.
Yeah, that was nuts. But his second win was considerably better than that. Um, yeah, I don't know. I think if I was a factory, I would definitely be looking at Lowe's and then yeah, Folger might not be a bad choice. But whatever,
Well,
let's move on. I know you want to talk about Suzuki more.
Hell yeah.
Dennis, sorry, you were saying something?
no, I was just gonna apologize. I didn't mean to go quiet on you guys. Is that while you guys were talking, I checked my Twitter feed and got some blurb about because Suzuka 8 hours this weekend, so I just saw some blurb about Stoner being in first spot and then ultimately ending the qualifying fourth fastest. So I was just reading up on that. My bad on that.
Wait,
Football's
who?
interesting because the media is gonna fucking be all up on his shit. So I'm really looking forward to seeing how he handles that.
Wait, who?
I was shut up. I was thinking about that earlier today, and I'm not sure if it's like all media. Maybe it is, or maybe it's just the MotoGP like media circus. I don't know.
It's just the Spanish and Italian media.
Well,
Yeah,
I
probably
mean,
that one.
the Japanese media is probably considerably more polite than the Spanish and Italian media.
Oh, definitely,
Yeah,
definitely more.
I'll say that's definitely not up for debate.
yeah. So
Yeah.
maybe he'll be.
Although by contrast, the Japanese writers are also considerably more polite than Stoner, who told the guy who broke the retirement story that he was a liar and people shouldn't read his paper.
Oh, I do remember that.
And
That
then
was
the
pretty
next
funny.
fucking race, he's like, I'm retiring.
Yeah, it was literally a week later.
Yeah, and then Cal was doing his like surprise Cal face, and I'm thinking some asshole said this already.
Yeah, it was already published. Like, why do you care? Or what?
Right.
Is it a big why?
All right.
Right. So whatever.
Anyway, why don't
Anyway,
we
back
bring
to
it back?
Suzuki.
Yeah, from Suzuka back to Suzuki,
Back to Suzuki.
Kevin.
Maverick or Aleix first, Kevin?
Come on, man. Maverick's my dog.
Well, maybe
Yeah,
you want to
Maverick.
save the best for last, but all right, Maverick. So we already touched on him, right? He's learning GP correctly. He's the only rookie to score points in the first 9 races ever.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is pretty cool because, last year he broke the record for Moto 2 points by a rookie in a season.
By a long shot too. Like it was huge. So is this is he going to become like the most consistent rider on the grid? Like, is that going to be his MO, or what do you think?
I hope not, because consistency at a young age doesn't usually breed wins and championships.
Exactly.
But
I want to say it's not consistency for him. I think I want to attribute more like focused on that guy. Like even for his age, he just seems like, like when he really gets his mind into the task at hand, he will do it and he will do it well.
Like bitching out of a team and leaving them and.
Yeah, but when he got what he asked for, he did the deed. So that's
True.
focus.
That's true. He threw down and pretty much made it happen, and it worked out. Whereas a lot of other people would have bitched and complained about their ride, and then moved on, and then pulled like a Mika Kallio or something, right? Where you move to a team and then do absolutely nothing.
Right, or pull a Melandri.
Yeah, there you go. He did the exact opposite of pulling a Melandri.
I mean, Aprilia, they could call me because I'll not ride their bike for half of what they're paying him not to ride it.
You would cost them more in repairs crashing that shit out of the hot pit.
No, I'm saying they canceled his contract and paid him out. I'm like, I'll not ride your bike for half that.
Oh, okay.
I'll give him a deal, $100,000, Aprilia, if you're listening, $100,000, and I won't ride your bike.
Oh man, they could save it on travel costs because they would just know that you would not ride it.
Yeah, exactly. No, I'd still be commentating though. So.
No, of course. Yeah.
No, I think Maverick is just he's having a better year than I expected, but he is kind of doing what I thought was slowly starting to surpass Aleix. Now Aleix did drag him to the line and beat him, probably more out of experience than anything else, but he's ahead of him in the points now by a decent little margin, which is going to be hard to bring back because of their normal finishing positions.
Yeah. And
he's coming right along, learning stuff. I can't wait to see what that guy does next year and the year after.
Yeah, I mean, like at the moment, it seems like he's really just going to be dependent on Suzuki's ability to develop that bike. And as a rookie, he probably has almost zero input on development. Right, like he's new to the tires, new to the brakes, new to the unbelievably new to electronics.
I'll tell you something, man. He ends the year with better, a better overall point score and a higher finishing position than Aleix has gotten. They're gonna start tweaking that development towards him too. I mean, he's got more points than Aleix, and he has a 6th, which Aleix has not done. Aleix has his best finish is 7th, which Maverick has also done.
Yeah. Yeah,
You know,
I actually wonder what sort of direction that Suzuki is taking because I wonder if their two riders are dramatically different, right? Like there's no way it's a Marc Marquez versus Danny Pedrosa where Marquez runs an unbelievably stiff front end on the chassis and Danny rides the same chassis as all the satellite riders. Like it's probably not that, but you're right. Suzuki's got to pick a direction some way. I mean, they both have said that the chassis is amazing. So, and the Suzuki is carrying more corner speed pretty much everywhere when they have the setup good.
right. And that's what I was saying. I mean, next year when they have a year's worth of data and stuff, now I know there's new tires and stuff, but they'll at least have a base setup of their riders on every track. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah. I could see Suzuki totally botching that though because
yeah, because that's what they do.
well, everything that we've seen is just them not doing very good with the electronics. And they're going to get the spec electronics. They're going to take way longer than everyone else to like get like a base setup into the bike. They're going to be, last year's data is not going to be as useful as they hope because of the tires and because of the electronics. Like, I really wonder. I mean, I definitely would hope that their results at the tracks where they haven't had data, like Sachsenring, would improve. But you never know.
But it kind of goes to what you said about maybe the other. It might actually help their finishing position next year because of the whole direct factory involvement. Like you're saying, I mean, what are the third tier and satellite Ducati teams going to get? They're just going to give everyone a GP16. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What's forward going to get? There's a lot of riders that are going to be on the grid next year on bikes that weren't designed for Michelin's.
Oh yeah, I have no idea how that's going to work out. Like if Honda just takes the chassis off of the satellite bike from this year and throws it on the production bike and says, "Here, you have a new bike." Like that will be undoubtedly be the worst bike on the grid by a long shot. And Ducati, I mean, Ducati's made long strides this year with the GP15, but are they going to be able to give that to Barbara? Like, or is he going to get the 14.3? Like,
Right, no, there's no way he's. I mean, they've proven they can't get a ton of chassis out. I don't think they have the manpower and build power to just be like, oh yeah, here's 6 brand new bikes,
yeah.
plus all the parts, accessories, and development that's required. I mean, otherwise, if they did, you'd see Petrucci and Yanni on the GP615s just for development.
Yeah, I mean, I think like Ducati's already kind of come out and said that their GP16 is already in development and that it's just going to be an evolution. So I think because of that, I honestly think that we'll see 4 GP16s on the grid next year. Um, because when it's an evolution, it's just you finish the design sooner, and like just like the satellite bikes, right, or just like the Honda and the Yamaha. I mean, Yanni and Petrucci will get the first iteration of the GP16, and then the factory Ducatis will start on that, but then by the third round or something, they'll have a new chassis and it'll be the 16.1 if we continue with
Right.
Ducati's decimal system. Um, but yeah,
And by the way, that's another thing about like the boutique rider and bike, the branding of their fucking chassis. I don't know what fucking chassis Marquez is on. He's on some weird ass Franken bike, but he doesn't have like a cool branding for it that makes you recognize the style of bike they're riding. It's pretty fucking genius, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah, well, I mean, they're not noticeable, right? Like Ducati made a big deal about it because they were making massive changes. It was like when Rossi got Ducati to make the front aluminum subframe that bolted to the engine. It was just like, oh yeah, this bike is completely different than what all the other Ducatis are riding. Whereas Honda, removes a tiny bit of aluminum from the headstock and moves like the swing arm pivot 1 millimeter, and they call it a new chassis.
Right.
So I mean, yeah, but in that regard, I mean, it totally works out for Ducati because everyone writes about it. They get publicity, and it probably gets eggheads like me to read more into the sport. But yeah,
Some egghead has to.
yeah, someone has to. But yeah,
It's not going to be me. Fuck reading.
I wish I could get more information about everyone else's chassis, but I mean, we don't hear about the
You're
Yamaha.
the only one that would wish that.
I know, whatever, leave me alone. But yeah, Suzuki, I mean, I'm a little disappointed by Alesia's inconsistency, especially him crashing out at Catalunya. Um, because he was in fourth, right, when he crashed out?
Yeah, three straight crashes is rough. He retires three straight times, and he kind of bounces back to the outlier of the top 10. Kind of bummed they didn't take that next step to
Yeah.
really get towards the top five. But, again, first year back, not a lot of testing, new riders, everything like that. Who knows?
And I feel like the tracks that they haven't been to are only going to continue. Like they've got they've got Indy coming up. I wonder if they managed to test at Brno, which is thankfully still on the calendar. I think they probably didn't test at Silverstone as well. Like if they continue these more interesting tracks that they've never tested on before, we could see, low top 10 finishes out of Aleix for a good long time. And I don't want to see that. I want to see him like in Catalunya, like fighting for top five position because that's what he needs to do for Suzuki. And
Right, that was kind of his job,
yeah,
was to get in that thing and basically override it. Do what he did on the Forward Yamaha last year, which I guess he is kind of doing. He's crashing a lot, having some top tens, and hopefully having some glimmers of brilliance when all the stars align.
yeah. And I mean, even when his team misses the setup, which they blatantly said about Sachsenring, he still was in the top 10 and he still managed to beat Mav just barely in like the
Right,
most.
their problem is kind of the consistent thing we've heard. With no seamless transmission, low horsepower, they just get fucking gang raped on the start, dude. It's like, you know what I mean? It's like Jodie Foster and the accused up there. They just get annihilated.
It's like running a Honda CBR 600 anywhere in the world.
Unless you're fucking Rob, who's really good at getting starts. Just asking.
Or unless you're in World Supersport and you can put whatever cams you want in the thing.
Yeah, exactly. I just mean, that they start on the back foot no matter how good they qualify because they just get swallowed up. And a bike that handles really well is not that great for passing because you've got to get offline to do the pass.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
we saw that with Yamaha a few years ago. Like if Honda managed to dive in front of them and block the line, like their advantage was completely taken away.
Right, and for me, it's just like, fuck, get those guys a better launch because, even when those guys were on the front row that one race, it's just zoop gone. All that work, it makes you wonder if that's kind of like goes back to that confidence thing. How hard can you really want to try in qualifying? How much can you really want to put it on the line, knowing you're just going to get swallowed up 3 turns in? I mean, at least Ducati knows that their bike launch is good. They got seamless. They got a shitload of power. So if they get on that front row, second row, they have a chance to really get out there and fight for some positions for a while.
Yeah, Ducati's had the seamless for a long time too. They've got I mean, even now they probably have the second best gearbox on the grid. Maybe the best gearbox on the grid. So yeah, he would be nice. I mean, Suzuki is obviously doing development on it. There's no way that they're not going to come out with a seamless by the end of the year, but they just, because it's easy to work on the engine, right? You design something new, you get someone to cast it, you put it on the dyno. It's not like you have to have a pro rider
Right.
run it on the track to test it. So, and I mean, you don't need amazing Bridgestone slick tires to test the thing, and it's not against the rules in any way. So Suzuki's definitely spending their money there, especially since we know the chassis is pretty good. Like I think they had a chatter issue for a couple of rounds, and I think they've made improvements on that. I think even Maverick ran into it this last round, and they said they found something. So that's working out for them. They just got to get more power.
Right, and that's the problem they had in 800s was they had a bike that handled it pretty well. Bautista was able to run some solid top 5 times with that thing, but then you end up running up against the wall. You can only override even the good chassis so much without power, and I just don't want them to repeat the same thing where the bike actually is pretty they started the 800cc era with a pretty decent bike. They had the advantage of having Bridgestones during 2007. Hopkins and Vermeulen, Vermeulen got a win. Hopkins got a bunch of podiums. And then they kind of tailed off. They didn't keep up with development. I just hope they don't get swallowed up by development as Honda really tries to catch Yamaha and vice versa.
Yeah, and I mean, it's funny because Aleix's crashes all seem to be him pushing it on the brakes on the front end, and kind of that, from what I remember, that was what Bautista was doing on the Suzuki as well. Like when you try and make up time on the brakes like that, no matter how good your chassis is, it's just a lot of risk because you get to the edge of that tire and there's nowhere to go. Like
Right.
you're either gonna make it or you're gonna hit the ground.
Right, just like we said about Marquez trying to override his 2015 Honda. Eventually, you can only take chances so many times before the chance of one of those crashing just continues to compound.
Yep. Yeah, it's not like spinning the rear tire where you can just control it. Like you brake a tiny bit too much and you're on the deck.
Yeah, the thin red line, so to speak, is just it's too small.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I haven't really seen any articles about the summer break, about what any of the teams are doing development-wise. Like there was the test at Misano, but it seemed like, or for what Honda, Suzuki, and a few others were there, but it just seemed like normal stuff. So I guess we get to wait till like the first return to Europe like normal. Like teams usually bring something to Brno, so hopefully we'll see something new there.
Right.
And that's actually 2 rounds from now because the next round is Indy in 2.5 weeks here in the U.S., right?
Yeah, are you going?
Hell no.
Kevin, are you going?
Am I going to Indianapolis? Well, you couldn't fucking pay me to go to Indiana, dude.
What if I paid you to not ride Aprilia's bike at Indianapolis?
Yes, I would take that job.
You would totally go.
Exactly.
I would go too.
Might have to, though, with the rumor of World Superbike leaving Laguna and taking up Indy.
Was it Indy? Really? Not Coda?
What?
I don't know. I mean, I personally think Coda's a better choice, but, I posted this on Bark, too, that, if you look at the 3 major U.S. tracks that can host an international event, it's Laguna Seca, which is a great track, but with terrible amenities and terrible locals who hate basically anyone who likes motorsports, desperately don't want that track to run things, and gouge you for all the money they can get.
Yeah.
Then you have Indianapolis, which is like pretty good facility. Oh, and Laguna Seca has terrible facilities.
No
Great
variety.
track, terrible facilities.
Yeah.
Then you get Indy, which is terrible track, god awful, like depressingly bad track.
They made it a little better.
What's that?
Better. It got a little better from the recent changes. They made a few corners a little wider and they repaved the whole thing.
Oh,
It's
great.
still no Laguna. It's still no Laguna.
It's still no.
Right, and then but Indy's a shitty track, but good facilities for sure, world class facilities. I don't know. Coda is an all right track. It's new, it's interesting, and it's got great facilities, and it's in Austin, live music capital of the country, and a pretty happening town. To me, it just seems like Texas is probably the best choice when you factor in everything.
It is.
But Dorna is not going to put MotoGP and World Superbike in the same U.S. circuit.
And World Superbike.
Well, if they did Indy, it would be.
Yeah.
Well,
If
maybe
they
they're
leave
planning on taking
Laguna,
it
it's
away
going to
from
be a
MotoGP.
track that they have the same circuit.
I mean, I think World Superbike is at Laguna because the number that Dorna wanted to charge for having a series there was about right for World Superbike. Whereas I feel like if they go to Coda or if they go to Indy, they're going to jack their price up. So maybe Dorna's happy to move World Superbike over to one of those tracks, but it might be that those tracks are going to look at the attendance figures and be like, well, if we get half the fans of the GP round, we can't really afford this. So it might not happen.
Right.
Yeah, I say they stay on Laguna Seca.
Yeah, I think they should
That's
as
my
well.
call.
I think just spreading it out and like for the grid size and the attendance kind of worked out this whole weekend. Like there were
I
plenty.
don't know. You were there. What was the attendance like? Was it? I don't. You can never tell from online reports because you know what I mean. But what kind of?
Yeah, what I said is that it's still no MotoGP, but in the 3 years that I've been going since they came back, I mean, I can't deny that it's getting better every year, just not GP level yet.
Right.
I mean, I've never been to GP or World Superbike there before.
It's hard to compare GP. GP came back to Laguna at the height of the Grand Prix, what kind of resurgence. Rossi was riding a tidal wave of fucking popularity like you'd never even seen. And it was a total circus. Everyone, Brad Pitt came out. Yamaha paid $1 million to fix the track. GP's popularity in 2004, 5, 6 was out of fucking control, dude.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well,
Just like AMA was, and Sears Point would be fucking packed galore. it's hard to compare around now to when MotoGP was going there, simply because it's just a totally different economic climate, cultural climate.
Yeah, I mean, and Nicky won in '05, and that just brought more people back in '06, and he was leading the title, and it was just like the perfect storm to get people to go to GP.
Right, exactly.
And there is no perfect storm to get people to go to watch World Superbike.
Not with anyone in it. It's too bad. It's like I said, it's too bad Spieth called it quits, because a move back in World Superbike would have been pretty cool. I was talking this about how they're trying to kind of, they had Bayless ride and then Biaggi ride. It'd be cool if they could fucking throw something to get Spieth to come back and ride around, but I think he's just done with motorcycles in general.
I don't think they could. They'd have to like sponsor his cycling team for like 3 years and buy like 1 million burgers from him.
Right.
I say they stay in Laguna Seca and Nicky Hayden makes the jump to World Superbikes.
I think that's gone.
I don't see it happening, but I agree that it would improve Laguna's attendance.
It would be huge, but I think Nicky Hayden missed that boat to switch to World Superbike.
Yeah, I mean,
Probably,
maybe
but
he'll swap
as a
with Torres.
business decision, it's not a bad decision.
Correct. Oh man, we can only hope about Nicky. But
Yeah, I think he's gonna be done soon.
yeah, he's still good, pretty high up in GP starts. He's had a very good career for all things considered. So
Yeah. Won a title, never came out of the closet.
Okay, and on that note,
and on
this weekend,
you just
like
you
I
literally
mentioned
just
earlier,
picked up
is
so many people.
if we are still in the middle of the summer break for MotoGP, but if you are hankering for some racing, like I mentioned earlier, it is the Suzuka 8 Hours this weekend, and then next weekend is the following round of World Superbike. And God, I already forgot which circuit to go into.
All of that only matters if someone's able to get this up before this weekend.
Well, I can get it up before this
All
weekend.
right.
I can get it up anytime, yo.
Sexy.
But yeah, I forgot.
Maybe you should call Nicky.
All right, let's wrap it up at that point then.
Well, before we go, we do have to say our condolences to the two riders that lost their lives at the MotoAmerica Superbike Superstock race 2.
Yes, very, very tragic, and sounded like it was horrific. I'm glad I did not see that event.
Yeah,
Neither did I, fortunately.
it was not something that I am happy to have watched, but yeah. So Bernat Martinez and Danny Rivas, they they will probably be missed by their friends and family, and it's sad to see someone leave the paddock like that.
Absolutely.
But
Yeah. And on that note, I make a lot of jokes and I fucking rip on people and stuff, but anyone that gets on that grid and lines up is a fucking moto hero, man. You got balls, and they're out there to entertain the fans and ride for us, and so all joking aside, the fact that those guys are even doing that at all is pretty rad, and it sucks that they had to go out that way, and reminds us all that it's a pretty dangerous activity at times.
yeah, and thanks to all the corner workers and the medical staff too that tried to save them as well and helped out the other riders that.
Yeah, and saved and helped out other riders that were hurt, because it was not only a two-person crash.
Yeah, I think
Right.
it was 5 total involved, and what Corey Call from Northern California also had his part in that incident. So I'm sure sad to see him so distraught about that as well. But yeah, sorry to end the episode on a sad note, guys, but we had to get that one in there. It's going to affect.
The world is very real sometimes.
Yeah, and it'll affect everyone in the paddock for a bit, I'm sure. So cool. That was episode 15. That ended up quite a bit longer than we expected. There apparently was a lot to talk about.
Yeah, mostly involving Rob's, racing day.
Yeah. So thanks for listening to all my stuffs, and I'll post some pictures later for sure about all that when I actually get some race photos. I found one photo of me running off at the corkscrew, just kicking up dirt trying to get out of the sand. So that was awesome.
Okay, and the photo of Dennis on the world feed.
Yeah, we got that one too.
We got
No, that one's already framed in my wall. It's already framed, and I signed it myself. Like autograph it.
Oh, sweet.
You can
You
sell
carry a
them.
signed picture of yourself in your wallet? That's awesome. I do that too.
You could sell them next year at
Alright.
at a booth or something. We'll set one up for you.
Okay, good.
Yeah, so we had a lot to talk about this episode. We're probably gonna have a heck of a lot more because we're gonna have a lot of racing to talk about after next episode 16. So until then, thanks for tuning in and talk to you then.
And the return of Stoner is imminent.
Oh, who?
Dun dun dun.